Hello, you amazing patrons. Just checking in on a Monday to let you know that number one, the latest episode of Creepy Cove Community Church is now available, featuring a special guest appearance by Spectral Bob. What do you mean you don't know who Spectral Bob is? It's the ghost of legendary oil painter Bob Ross. Yeah, he turns up. I know, it's a bit weird. So anyway, you can check that out. And it still continues and concludes the talk that I was doing on how loving your enemies makes kind of sense when you think about it, or at least I think it does, but maybe you'll disagree, especially if I'm your enemy. Maybe you want to kill me. Anyway, the other thing to say is that the Pedalers podcast comes out tomorrow, and we've just recorded that. In that episode, I look at some really strange stories, including some headless goats, which have been discovered. Also, something about an eel, which is not very nice. We look at patrons' most embarrassing moments. There's some funny ones in there. I share one of mine. And also, actually, at the beginning of that, there's a little, almost like a travel section, where I review my recent trip to the Museum of Science Fiction and Film, I think it's called, in Milton Keynes, and explain a bit about it. And I'm telling you a little secret in the podcast of something I spotted there. Maybe I shouldn't have seen it. So anyway, I mentioned something I saw when I was there, which was a bit off limits, but I poked my head through a gap in the curtains and saw something. And I've told you about it on the podcast. Anyway, the other thing is to show you something cool. And I'm going to show you another vinyl record this week. But this vinyl record I have never seen anywhere in the wild, and I've looked for it. But particularly in England, I have looked through countless record shops and never found it. And so eventually I had to order it. I think it was from Germany or something. I can't remember where I got it. I got it through Discogs. Maybe in America this is very common, and one wound up in Germany because it's an American album. But anyway, I'm going to show you it. It's The Late Great Planet Earth. Now this is the soundtrack to a film from the 70s, which was a kind of Christian doomsday film, which was talking about the end of the world and trying to show that the Antichrist was coming and it was the end times. And it was based on a famous book by Hal Lindsey called The Late Great Planet Earth, which kind of set a lot of Christians alight with apocalyptic imagery, but also tried to kind of scare people into the kingdom of God. And the film was narrated by Orson Welles. And so the music to the film is really, really good. And I bought this album for the music. But it turns out it actually contains loads of the dialogue as well, which is actually a shame because I just wanted to get the music and you can access the film. But they would have done that because at the time, they would have wanted this to, it's almost, well, you can't have VHS, can you? So they would have wanted people, almost like an evangelistic tool, to have taken this album and bought it. And if they couldn't see the film at the cinema, VHS wasn't around when the film came out, then they could listen to the arguments on the album and find out why we were living apparently in the last days and that people should turn to Jesus or be forever doomed. So there's the record, a very kind of simplistic design, but like I say, the music to the thing I think is really, really good. Big orchestral score, but you can't hear it because Orson Welles and a bunch of people are talking. This I think would make a great, if you were a DJ and you wanted to kind of play like weird samples and stuff, I think this would make a good addition to your vinyl collection. Well, with the apocalypse in mind and the burning earth, I shall bid you adieu, and I'll see you tomorrow in the Pedalers podcast if you have access to that, or I'll see you at Creepy Cove, or indeed just somewhere in the ether. But thanks again for being amazing patrons and being such an encouragement, and I'll speak to you soon. Sorry for my family making noises in the background. Right, bye.